For every one Christmas movie that's good, there's at least 20 that aren't. Sometimes they simply miss the mark, other times they play way too heavily into sentiment or end up sending the wrong message, and occasionally they're very badly written and unwanted sequels to beloved holiday classics. But that being said, there is one Christmas movie I've seen that, at least to me, stands head and shoulders above the rest in terms of how bad it is. We're talking so bad it's good and then goes all the way around to bad again, has massive meme potential because of how bad it is bad. I mean, the writing behind it has to be one of the most bizarre, nonsensically put together things to ever be given a wide release. Seriously, if one were to picture what an atrociously written movie would look like, this would be it. And today, I'd like to go over this movie and specifically what exactly makes it so bad. And there will be major spoilers ahead, so in case you'd like to watch it for yourself first, you might want to consider clicking off this video and coming back to it another day. Okay, so to get right into it, the movie in question is a 1966 American-Italian co-production called The Christmas That Almost Wasn't, which, as the title suggests, is the story of how Santa Claus almost wasn't able to deliver presents to children on Christmas. Sounds like a fairly standard Christmas story, right? Well, not exactly. Because the reason for Santa's problems come in the form of wealthy businessman Phineas T. Prune, a villain who hates Christmas and Santa Claus so much that he buys the property Santa's workshop sits on and charges him insanely high rent so that he can evict him when he can't make his payments. But it doesn't end there either. In fact, we're just getting started. So, unable to pay the rent, Santa goes to a down-on-his-luck but extremely chipper lawyer named Sam Whipple, who agrees to help him out in any way he can. Initially, he tries to use his lawyer skills to stop Prune, but it doesn't work, as it seems Prune has thought of everything. So then Whipple gets the idea of having Santa work in a popular children's store and have them tell him what they want for Christmas. Yes, you heard that right. This movie depicts how the concept of the department store Santa came to be, because Santa was back on his rent and needed money. As you could very well guess by now, this is certainly no Santa Claus is Coming to Town. But it gets even worse. Because as it turns out, Santa Claus is afraid of children because he's never met one before. Sure, he's seen plenty of them every year when he delivers the presents or when he's making sure they're good, but he's never actually talked to one. But Whipple helps him get over his fear, and soon enough he becomes a huge hit with the children and starts making a bunch of money. But not to be outdone, Prune buys the toy store, then starts deliberately sabotaging anything and everything and blaming it on Santa and Whipple as an excuse to not pay them, leaving them right back where they started. Then on Christmas Eve, just when things look hopeless, a child stumbles across Santa Claus and Sam Whipple, who tell him of his misfortune. So the kid rallies all the children in town, and they give Santa the money he needs to pay the rent, which he manages to pay Prune just in time. But after going on his run, Santa finally discovers why Prune hates him so much. Due to a clerical error caused by the head elf, Prune was never given any presents as a child, and always resented Santa for never giving him the sailboat he always wanted. So Santa finally delivers the long overdue present to Prune personally. causing him to finally understand the true meaning of Christmas and reform his ways. And that's where the movie finally ends. Now, let me just say, if you think that sounds bad, believe me, it's a million times worse in execution. At one point, one character even says, "We don't care if it all makes sense," and that seems to be the writer's motto. Because simply put, not only is the plot terrible, with Santa Claus having a landlord, lawyer, and a fear of children, just to name a few, but there isn't much in this movie that makes any sense. And for just one example of that, Phineas T. Prune goes from being a stereotypical evil villain that hates Christmas just because to a heartbroken, misunderstood man without any hint or transition between the two whatsoever. To put it simply, if there was ever a movie that embodied the term "doesn't make sense," this would be it. Because not only does the concept itself not work, but nothing within the narrative even tries to be coherent. It's just one absurd situation after another that the writers just expect you to go along with. And that's not even getting into the songs. Seriously, one of them is so bad, I even clipped part of it in a separate video, which you can find a link in the description to. Seriously, you have to hear it to believe it. But the point is, as a writer myself, I just cannot believe that a movie written this incoherently actually exists. I mean, it's not even bad by conventional movie standards. It breaks all the basic rules of writing 101. And yet, it's so shameless in how it goes about doing it that you almost can't help but admire the writers for their boldness. Almost. But to be completely fair, if I did have to say one good thing about it, it would be the actors' performances. Not a single person involved sleepwalks through their part or behaves like they know they're in a terrible movie and instead give it their absolute all. And I just have to say, there's something to admire about their sincerity and dedication to making a movie that they must have known was going to turn out horrible as good as it could be. Because in the end, they don't just play their parts, they embody their characters like any good actor does. But unfortunately, they aren't enough to save this total train wreck of a film, and really only serve to make it slightly more watchable and tolerable than it otherwise would have been. So to put it simply, The Christmas That Almost Wasn't perfectly represents absolutely everything that can go wrong with a Christmas movie going wrong. It just takes a bunch of Christmas cliches and throws them all together without any thought as to how to make them work, or in some cases, even if they actually work within the given story. And the result is a plot that's not only completely ridiculous, but makes so little sense that it borders on being completely incoherent. Seriously, there's such a disconnect between certain scenes that they would have almost been better off calling this Sam Whipple's Christmas Adventures, since at least that would have justified the looser narrative, even if it wouldn't have made it any better. But the point is, there are bad movies, and then there's this. And I don't throw stuff around like that lightly. I'm not quick to call a movie terrible, but I am not joking when I say it completely deserves that distinction. It's that bad. Like I said before, I have never seen a movie be this shameless about the fact that it's badly written. And as a person who's written books, I just don't get it. I mean, this would confuse a 5-year-old child. That's how confusing and incoherent it is. Though, as I noted before, considering the dedicated performances of the actors involved, maybe it did have its heart in the right place. But I'm sorry, the results have still got to be one of the worst Christmas movies of all time, and one of the worst movies ever made, period. Okay, I think I've torn apart this movie for long enough. So now why don't all of you tell me? Do you think The Christmas That Almost Wasn't is an absolutely terrible Christmas movie in every conceivable way? Or do you believe I'm being too hard on it? Please let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And please keep in mind that you do not have to agree with anything I said in this video just because you watched it. You can absolutely love The Christmas That Almost Wasn't and think it was perfectly written if you want to. And I'll respect your opinion as long as you respect mine. And thank you all for watching. I greatly appreciate it. And I hope to see you all next time.